Okay, in the last video I showed you how you can kind of put all these extra wires together in an organized way, but a few things I left out that should be said. One is any little bit of loose wire, especially where these LED wires are coming out, that can kind of press against the inside of this plastic, and anytime you have that kind of rubber insulation against plastic, it'll cause a lot of friction. So certainly we're going to want to figure out ways of making it really smooth and keeping the wires from touching the plastic. I had thought earlier about using like packaging tape or something like that to keep them isolated, but anything to make it so that the friction that this servo needs to push against is minimal. Another thing that I left out is these Ethernet to twisted pair adapters. As you recall, this isn't actually what the ones we're sending out will look like. They'll actually have a little pigtail with a male Ethernet plug. The way those will work is you just plug them into the Ethernet jack on the beagle bone, and then this will kind of lift up and around and be kind of mounted in this position. And then wires coming from the tether will get screwed in here, and they'll be routed back to this side of the e-chassis. So now we're on the subject of this side of the e-chassis. Let's start talking about the electric speed controllers. There's 3 of them. They come in these little boxes, and when you open the box, you'll see there's the electric speed control and some other stuff in the back. Just while we're talking about it, you'll notice that there's this kind of double-sided adhesive material. You can use that to attach the ESC to the plastic later, and I'll show you how to do that. And then also, it comes with these little mini zip ties. You don't need them for the ESCs, but they're actually really handy for mounting wires coming from like the motor leads and battery leads to the chassis of the ROV. So hold on to these, you can use them later. So there's 3 of these ESCs, and I guess I'll open all of them now just to kind of get them ready to show. You have to do something that I never like doing, which is cutting wire on a finished product. You'll notice that it comes with these little banana plug ports and a place to plug into batteries. We're going to attach into a Molex connector later on, and so we actually don't need these connectors at all. So what I've done is, for this design, is I just cut really close to the end of the lead on all of them. So it's a little hard to do, but just cut it off. We won't need that part. So negative, positive, and then the 3 wires for the motor leads. You don't have to worry about what color it is that you're cutting off, because the neat thing about how ESCs work is you can plug any 3 of the motor leads into any 3 of the ESC wires, and if the motor doesn't spin the right direction based on how you have it plugged in, just switch any 2 and the motor will spin the other direction. So I'll cut these other wires a little bit later, but just to kind of give you a start on how these get mounted, the general idea is the ESC fits in this position, and the wires coming out of this end, the servo wire and the programming wire, are going to wrap around through that slot and then get plugged into the beagle bone cape. But first, we should just make sure you understand kind of where the position of everything is. These are little capacitors that allow the ESC to function even when there's a lot of voltage transients happening. Those fit through these holes here, and then one thing we haven't completely figured out yet is how to make a power bus for all the ESCs to attach to each other. But I presume that we'll want to have kind of a screw terminal or something like that over here. So it's good to route these through that same hole. And then it's a little bit hard. Everything's a really tight squeeze, but basically this will get mounted here. Later on you can plug this into the beagle bone cape, and I'll show you how to do that. And then a lot of times what I like to do to keep these switches organized is just glue them onto the chassis, like so. You can use hot glue or epoxy. Now, we won't want to do that permanently yet, because actually we need to put little connectors on all of these that are going to fit into the Molex jack that plugs in right here. We don't have that Molex jack today, so I'll just kind of give you a demo of how to attach the crimp fitting and show you a finished one that has the Molex connector attached. So the next time I'll show you how all of these are mounted.